Welcome to the Coaches Show. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director, and today we have very special guests talking about tonight's region football matchup. We've got Matt Kriesky, head football coach at Centennial High School, Coach Brian Coleman of Summit High School. Gentlemen, appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Tonight's WCTV game of the week is also the second region game of the year for both teams. Centennial coming in at 3-1 overall, 0-1 in the region. Summit undefeated at 4-0, 1-0 in the league. Let's start with Coach Kriesky. You had an opportunity to step back from region play last week and maybe work on some things, but now it's full steam ahead in terms of region play. 4 of your next 6 games or your last 6 games are all region matchups, Coach.
Yes, sir. Our biggest things we've been focusing on since the independence is, overcoming adversity. When something negative or something bad happens in the game, how are we going to overcome it? Like you saw, first play against Independence didn't go well, and I don't think we responded like we should have. And so that's been our main focus the past 2 weeks as we're moving forward. As we all know, as playing in this league, you're not going to play a perfect game. You're going to have to be able to overcome adversity when you're playing a region game, because every game is tough. And so we hope tonight that we see improvement from that, because I've told the kids all week it's not going to be a perfect game. Things are going to happen, but how are we going to respond? Hopefully we'll respond better tonight than we did against Independence.
Coach Coleman, obviously your 4 games, just like with Centennial, 3 of those 4 have been out of the league. So maybe a chance last week again to tweak some things, but back to region play, no secrets inside the league for sure.
Oh, that's true. I mean, this region's tough. Every game's going to be tough inside the region. Can't take anything for granted. We got to be up every week. You just can't have a bad week. These kids have to understand that for sure.
Coach Kriesky, nice bounce back last week for your team after a tough outing against Independence.
Yes, sir. The kids responded well. That was our theme last week is how you going to respond. They responded well, did what we asked them to do. Was able to good first half, but again, like we said, how 2 things we've been focusing on: how you going to respond to adversity this week, and how you going to put together a 4-quarter game. If we were fortunate, guys only had to play 2 quarters last week, so they didn't have to play a full game before we got the other guys in. They responded well in the first half, but let's see how they're going to do tonight playing a full 4-quarter game.
Coach Coleman, your team with the big region win, your first as a 6A school over Brentwood a couple of weeks ago, 27-14 on the road. You really picked up where you left off last year. By my count, winners of 15 in a row, and I'm counting 5 of those COVID wins. You've probably been the most unfortunate or the least fortunate in terms of COVID games. Now, listen, I'm not saying people don't play when they can play necessarily, but I do think it's kind of interesting that, you've had quite a team, and 1/3 of those wins have been basically no contest, but your team's playing well, Coach.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that Spring Hill game was a huge letdown. Deja vu from last year when you get a phone call from the coach on a Thursday at about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon saying that they couldn't play. And then the scramble goes on to trying to find another game. And that just doesn't ever work. I mean, because you only have 2 or 3 guys you can call. And so, that our kids were used to it. That's a good thing. They were used to it from last year. I had experienced that a lot. So, twofold. Yeah, you don't get beat up in the game. But the other bad thing we felt was, conditioning. Were we in good enough condition? That was just the second game of the year. And then, we go into the Brentwood game kind of worried about the conditioning of our guys. And then, the Brentwood game was the first region game we had. It was sloppy offensively. Thank goodness the defense stepped up and did a good job for us. Got 6 turnovers, 3 fumble recoveries, and 3 interceptions. So that really helped us out a lot. Thank goodness it took the offense a while to get going. And then last week, against a good Blackman team, first home game we've had in forever. It's the first home game we had since second round of the playoffs last year. So it felt like forever. Just talk to the guys about not letting that be a distraction, take that and make it an advantage. Don't don't think a home field is going to win you a game, but use the student section, use all the things to your advantage to get kind of excited about the game. So now we're back into the region play. It's going to be a tough region, tough matchup every week for sure.
Coach Coleman, I was thinking about this, and I don't know if this conversation ever came up. If I'm not mistaken, the week that you had the Spring Hill game, Blackman was also off. Was there any conversation about playing them a second time? I know that would have been odd, but did that ever come up?
No, I didn't want to do that at all. No, I was just we'll sit at home and go watch somebody else before we did that. No, I didn't. No, they're too hard to prepare for to start on a Thursday and then play them on a Friday for sure.
Would you, this is really a question for both of you, and I'll start with Coach Coleman. Let's say you get into later in the season and it's another one of those non-region weeks. Would you potentially, and I'm not holding you to it, I'm just curious because I know it's a little different in football with 10 events or 10 games versus baseball or basketball that have so many games. Would you consider playing an opponent that you had earlier in the year, whether it be region or non-region, and fill one of those dates?
I guess that could be a consideration. If you already played them, what they're about. I'm sure their tendencies will change, but mostly personnel and things like that. So I mean, yeah, I guess that definitely in consideration. And if you're really hurting for a game, and we would want to play our rest of our schedule for sure now if it ever came up again for sure.
Coach Kriesky, how about you?
Well, I'd kind of echo what he said. It just kind of depends on the situation and how we are. If we're healthy, we may need some time to rest and heal up. But it would just, I mean, you hate for these seniors. I know both of us feel the same way. You want them to get an opportunity to attend games. It's not fair to them. I mean, I definitely would probably try to look and hopefully work something out. But just the seniors is one thing that the past 2 years really think about, and when scheduling is, don't like to fill a game on a Thursday, but if it helps the seniors out, that's something I would consider.
Well, and I don't want to jinx us here, but I think in our league, you look at our 9 teams, we've had one game. You see a lot of talk about all the games that are being canceled. I think the Summit game maybe is the only one that we've had so far this year. So hopefully we can keep it between the ditches and keep this thing going. Hey, let's talk a little game history. This is the first matchup since 2018. Centennial leads the series 3-1. I did go back and look. 2013 were league games. Back then, we were calling those district games at the time. And then Summit wins the last meeting in 2018, 28-14. So obviously the teams are different, situations different. But let's start with you, Coach Coleman. You have to play now, no choice, right, since you're in the same region. But I love the WCS matchups. I'm sure you guys do too. Creates more excitement, especially since it's a league game now with playoff implication.
Yeah, that's true. I can remember those meetings back in the day when they mixed the 5 and 6A up, and we were only 5A in the 6A region, and we were just a young program, and we had to go play Centennial. Oh, good gosh, and they had some studs, and yeah, I think we returned the opening kickoff back, and that's about the only time we ever scored. They had a really, really good team, and we were really young. That was, trying to figure out what we're going to do there and getting in this league. But Coach Kriesky and I, we've scrimmaged each other a lot. We have a background together as far as coaching together. So, it's fun to always play against a quality program like he has. So, we've got a little bit of background as far as our teams go, but, they hold the 3-1 advantage. So, tough game for sure.
Coach Kriesky?
I think, my first year here, Coach, we played, twice when I first got here, did we not?
Yeah.
And then we weren't able to work it out. But, yeah, we've always tried to scrimmage, and at least because we know it's good work. And, when you're able to scrimmage against somebody, another coach that you're able to get good work in with, you always want to do that. So this is first year we haven't scrimmaged, of course, we're playing each other. But, we know it's going to be a tough game for us tonight. It's funny, I saw some of my coaches watching some film on Sunday, seeing some things he does. I think we did back at when we were both together back at good old days at Chapel Hill. So there was some good times we had together. So it's, we got a little history together. So it's kind of fun to go against Coach Coleman. But I know expect his team's going to be a hard-nosed team tonight. They're going to fight for 4 quarters. they carry his mentality on the field, and that's what's going to be tough for us tonight.
You guys, Coach Kriesky, you mentioned Chapel Hill. I feel bad. Maybe we should have a fourth guest on here, our third guest and fourth person on this meeting day. Coach Wild probably needs to be here.
I think he's been texting a lot this week. He's trying to get Coach Kriesky riled up for some reason. And we don't need all that going on. He's even working the gate so he can see Coach Kriesky walk in and out of the daggum gate. So, yeah, he's a pot stirrer for sure.
Yeah, he keeps telling me things that Coach Coleman says throughout the week. I know it's probably not true, so I just kind of ignore it.
Yeah, don't believe anything he says.
Amen.
Hey, with that winning streak you got going on, and the relative ease that you're winning these games. Now you've got a veteran team, and they say the right things. I know they approach the games the right way, but how do you keep their attention with how you're playing, and you've been pretty dominant. How do you keep that attention of your team?
It's usually a week-to-week thing, but I mean, one of the main things we always talk about is no regrets. You don't want to, go if you're a senior for sure. I mean, you're only promised 10 games. You don't want to go back when you're our age or you just graduate and say, man, I wish I'd have done better in this game. Man, I wish I'd have done better at so-and-so. Just play each play. Like it's your last. You never know when it could be. So, we kind of preach that a lot, and that helps motivate the guys. And like we said, week to week we use different things, and this week for sure. I mean, everybody's first goal is a region championship, so region games are important. You can't lose any of them in this league. So, to accomplish your goals, this is a part of step toward accomplishing that goal for sure.
Coach Kriesky, your team has to have their confidence back after getting another non-region win last week, I'm sure. Talk about practice, what it's looked like this week after coming off another big win versus last week when you were coming off a tough loss to Independence.
Well, anytime that you come off victory, a Monday practice has a little bit more energy. So we've had a little bit, knowing it's a region game also, had a little pep in our step this week. Then we know our kids know what tonight means and how important it is. So the focus has been there a little bit more. As you can tell, when we watch film each day, Coach Coleman and staff do a great job on both sides of the ball. He's only had to punt. He's trying to research punt. He's only had to punt twice this year. So that says a lot about him and his team and what they're doing over there. So we got a tough task at hand tonight. Hopefully our guys come out ready. And again, when something happens, hopefully we respond well and do what we've been preaching all week long.
Coach Coleman, just talk about your game last week. A pretty dominant win there, 55-20 over Blackman. I said it was Sparty fast in that second quarter. You scored twice in 80 seconds. Destin Wade with a 73-yard run, a 68-yard run. He also had a 43-yard run in the first quarter. You get 511 yards of total offense, 397 rushing, 35 points in the second quarter. And, you take a look at that. It's difficult to have the ball 5 times in one quarter, much less score 35 points. Your defense played well. Keaton Wade, 2 of the 5 sacks for your team. Dominic Hollis had an interception. And something I noticed, Coach, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I think rightfully so, maybe we're seeing a little bit more of the ground attack this year from your team as compared to last year. Is that by design, or is it, hey, let's just take what the defense has given us?
Well, one of the things you talked about earlier was motivation. When Blackman student section is dancing on your Spartan head at the 50-yard line before the game, that's a little bit of motivation for our kids. So that fueled us a little bit also. But to go with the point of running the ball, yeah, I mean, you're going to have to run the ball when it gets late in the playoffs. You're going to have to run the ball in big games. Is it by design? I guess. But we just kind of been running it well. So why stop? Why throw the ball in the air and more things can go wrong when you pass the ball? But, once we kind of figured out what Blackman's defense was doing, that's when we kind of got a beat on what we could do to go against that defense. Because a lot of the times when you get film week to week, you don't see what people are going to do to a tight end wing, because not very many people have a tight end in the wing. So, and Blackman came up with a little bit of I will call it a different scheme against us. So once we figured out what they were trying to do to us, that, we combated that with our plan. And like you said, we got the ball back fast. Our defense got us the ball back fast. They were a fast moving offense, trying to snap the ball every 15 seconds. Sometimes that'll shoot yourself in the foot because you're 15 seconds, you're 3 and out. Well, then they've only used up less than a minute. So we get the ball back. And we practiced all week for that. Our defense did a great job, getting the ball back for us. And then, of course, Destin had a few long runs there. So scoring quickly was in his hands. But overall, pretty good game last week. We were very pleased with it for sure.
Coach Kriesky, your team also very explosive quarter. You have 29 points in the first quarter in the game last week against Antioch, a 43-6 win. The early safety seemed to set the tone that your defense came up with. Josh Forsey, we're hearing his name every week, couple of touchdowns in the first quarter. And then Cannon Plowman playing quarterback, getting a rushing and passing TD. One to Kofi. Boggs had another one to Kofi in the second quarter. Of course, Boggs, he steps up with another touchdown in the third quarter. So good game for your team. But talk about Cannon. Having him at quarterback, that's a little different look for your team this year, or at least compared to the beginning of the season.
Yeah, Cannon had to come in last week. He's done it for 4 years. He stepped in his freshman year, played QB for us. He stepped in, I believe it was a sophomore year against Hillsboro. So anytime we needed him at that position, he's filled in and done what we've asked him to do. He's a senior. This is his last go around, so he knows what it means to him and his team. So we needed him Friday night. He stepped in and did a great job. Him and Josh Forsey back there. A little combination we hadn't had in the previous 3 games. So they worked well together, and then getting the ball to Kofi. Kofi scored 3 touchdowns. We need more production out of Kofi and Kanai for us to be successful this year. Can't just put the ball in Josh Forsey hands all game and expect to be successful. So we're putting more on Kanai and Kofi as we move forward. So we're hoping things will start working out. As you see, Kanai didn't have a good week of practice, but when I went in one of our staff meetings this week, I went to him and said, guys, you got to realize he's just a freshman. We're putting a lot on his plate, both offense and defensively. We're asking a lot out of a young man who's just a freshman coming from middle school football. But he's special. He's got a bright future. And, one thing about it, he accepts the challenge. He wants that challenge. Team's embraced him. Even though he is a freshman and he's doing some great things. So we expect, he's starting to get comfortable, and playing this varsity football. So with him and Kofi, we're hoping to get more out of them on both sides of the ball. We need them. They can be really special for us as we move forward this year and in the future years.
Some great young talent at Centennial for sure, Coach. Hey, let's those stats. 314 yards, total offense, 274 of those rushing. Your defense only gave up 99 yards, so obviously a great bounce back for your team. Let's talk a little bit about the region. Coach Coleman, 1 game in, and I think a lot of people have said this at the beginning of the year, and I think they're certainly saying it now, not that you're paying a lot of attention to it, but Ravenwood and Summit, I think most would say, are the front runners right now, or at least people think you are. It'll be pretty darn tough. I mean, the region you came from obviously was very competitive, a little different deal with what you're dealing with this year, but not only your team, but any team. It's going to be pretty tough to go through this region and be unscathed.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. I mean, week to week and the physical grind that the kids are going to have. I mean, it's tough on them every Friday night. That Brentwood game was a very, very physical football game. So, that's one of the things that kind of worries you is the endurance of the kids, from week to week, how are they going to react to, going to be sore. They're definitely going to be sore. So, that's big for this region. I mean, a lot of people ask the question, what do you see the difference in 5A and 6A? And I think the physicality of it is the number one answer. I mean, week to week, it's going to be a physical football game for sure. And I think if we have to endure that, I think the team that endures that the best and comes out unscathed and and with no injuries or very few injuries, they're probably going to be the winner of the region.
Coach Kriesky, your team obviously showing great improvement this year. You got some non-region wins, but to get where you really want to go and to make that jump and to be a playoff team this year, you got to buckle down and get some region wins too, right?
Yes, sir. That's been, that's one of the things we talked about all season, all summer. We were still talking about it. We've got to get that region win underneath our belt. And that's big. That's huge. If we want to make the playoffs, like that's been our goal all year. We've got to figure out how to win a region game. And I think these kids, the group that we have, that no matter what happens tonight, they've accepted the challenges as we move forward for this year. And these seniors are leading in the right way and doing everything we've asked them to do. And I think once we get that region win, they'll get that monkey off their back and they can breathe a little bit more. I think they're just, they feed off me. They know how uptight I get it each week. And so I've tried to take a different approach, tried to be a little lax, and, they've been making fun of me this week, but I see Coach Coleman over there laughing. He knows how I am. So he's been around me long enough. These kids, they're high school kids. You got to let them have fun and enjoy the game. I think us as coaches, we take it a little bit too serious at times. But these guys, I feel like if we can get a region win underneath our belt, they'll start breathing a little bit better, have a little bit more confidence as we move forward. And hopefully, I know these guys go reach the playoffs, and I feel really confident that we're going to be able to do that this year.
This is going to be interesting to see. I want to see this new Coach Kriesky Friday night. I want to see this new, improved, relaxed guy.
He'll be throwing that hat. Hey, listen, he'll be throwing that hat. I want to see it to believe it, Coach.
Exactly.
Hey, you talk about the difficulty of the league. You go backwards a year, and it was certainly difficult when we talk about that. But let's face it, when you take a Dickson County out, that's a game that in WCS, we've pretty much said, okay, that's going to be a win every time, at least the past few years. And you replace a Dickson with the Summit. Obviously, that's not a gimme. One of the best teams in the league this year really changes the league. You talk about the physicality of the league. Coach Coleman mentioned that earlier. Adding Summit really changes that. And although Franklin has struggled this year, most years you're going to look, and not that you guys are going to be overlooking Franklin because you're not, but with Dickson being gone, literally every game is going to make you feel uncomfortable. Correct, Coach?
He said, yes, like you mentioned, throwing Summit in there for replacing Dickson. We were fortunate since I've been here, we've been able to beat Dickson every single time. So that gave us one region win. And, our goal was always to win two. So it usually came down to that Franklin game for us. So this year we know it's take Dickson out of the equation. We've got to find two wins. I know Franklin's struggling, but look at their schedule. It's really tough. They've had a really tough schedule. I think they're what I've seen on film. They're a good football team. You put them in any other region in the state, and it's a totally different story for them. That's what's tough and kind of hard in this league. It's the things that you do, because it's tough scheduling. I was fortunate with our scheduling this year. To get some things that rolling in the right direction for us. Coach Melton wasn't fortunate because I know he didn't make that schedule, but they opened up with Riverdale. I mean, both Coach Coleman and myself both scrimmaged Riverdale. That's a really tough defense to go against. He plays Stewart's Creek last week. That's a really tough opponent. So being in this league, you're talking about how physical it is. One thing you've always got to worry about. Us. We don't have the depth most of these teams have. So how physical, I know how I want to be physical week in and week out at practice, because I feel like you feed off that on Friday night. But then again, you want to beat yourself up so much in practice where you may lose a guy. I know I've had a coach that's been with me. He said, Coach, our goal is to get to Friday night. You get the kids to Friday night. So, my mentality, let's be physical every single day. Let's try to get tough. But, I've had to have a different approach the past couple of years than what I have in the past, because we've got to get to Friday night healthy. That's got to be a goal. I know Coach Coleman, as he's moving forward in the league, I know I worked with him, worked underneath him. I know how physical he wants to be in the week, and so he can't get some of those guys banged up in the week because he's got to make sure he has them on Friday night.
Coach Coleman, let's talk a little Summit offense here. Obviously, Destin Wade, what more do we need to say? You know, the long runs he's had. But I know a group that you're really proud of and talk about is that offensive line too.
Yeah, we're really excited about our offensive line. We only had to replace one from last year, and Jack Bauer is the replacement, and he's done probably one of the biggest surprises of our team, as well as he's done at guard, and that's really helped us out even more. You got Matthew Munns at left tackle, and then Jack Bauer at guard, and Ty Garber at center, and Cooper Cook at right guard, and then Mason Richardson at right tackle. To return 4 of those 5 guys off state championship team is huge, and I've told everybody this, they're just such a joy to coach. For them to come to the sideline and be able to communicate what they're seeing, what they have, what kind of techniques in front of them. Are they slanting? Are they doing this? You know, that makes us a whole lot better football team in game and at halftime to be able to see what the defense is doing to us and adjust that way. So, I mean, yes, Destin is a great athlete, but Destin also tell you that some of those touchdown runs, he's not even getting touched, or if he is getting touched, it's by a safety. Last week, Cooper Cook was running 30 yards down the field trying to block a DB, and they're running away from him. So he's blocking them. If they're running away from him, he's blocking them. So, just really proud of those guys up front. And, that's another reason why we're trying to run the ball well, because of those guys up front for sure.
Coach Kriesky, we talked about your offense a little bit earlier in the show, but something I thought about this game, and maybe this is what you want to happen, but as much as you guys have been running the ball, both of you, how much you're relying on running the ball, this has the chance to be one of the fastest games of the year. Clock running, not a lot of passes being thrown. You think that's important for your team? Obviously, time of possession is something that's going to be important for you, but that's the kind of game you want, right?
Yes, that's what, one of the reasons we moved to this type of offense. We're hoping to, ball control a little bit, hopefully keep it out of their hands tonight, because we know that anytime that he has the ball and they have the ball, they're capable of breaking it 70, 80, 100 yards on any given play. Destin's averaging 20 yards per carry. So, you've got to keep their offense off the field. That'll be a success. We've got to be ball control. We've got to move the chains, keep that clock running, and have him over there standing by Coach Coleman tonight, hopefully just for us to have a little success.
Coach Kriesky, let's stick with you. Let's talk a little bit of defense. You give up 35 points to Independence, although, and you would say this, not all of those points were the fault of your defense. You only give up 6 points last week, so that's a total of 41 points for the year. Obviously, you're going to have some challenges tonight dealing with Summit, but defense has been playing pretty well too.
Yes, sir, they have for the most part. Again, some of those young guys that we got out there playing, first Williamson County game, big lights kind of got them a little bit. But with that underneath their belt as we move forward, I think we'll, hopefully have a better showing and give Coach and his team a little bit of a challenge tonight. They've been playing well. You got the 2 Scruggs brothers up front, Gus, Mike Sangster, our 2 inside backers who I really like, man, Caleb Workman and Josh Rowan, Matthew Rowan, his older brother. I've done that twice this year, and his parents watch the show every week, and they've gotten on to me. So they've done really, really good job, and our secondary's gotten better. That's where we're a little young at, inexperienced, but they've grown and got better as we've moved forward. So we have the Scruggs brothers and our 2 inside linebackers. They're really the leaders of our defense. They're taking charge. And, for us to be successful tonight, those 4 guys have got to have a great game.
Coach Coleman, your offense, obviously being explosive like it is, gets a lot of attention, and maybe your defense doesn't get quite as much as they should. Talk about their play, and then replacing, Coach Alex Melton. He was with you for a long time, obviously someone you really trusted, now the head coach at Franklin High School. But talk about that defense, also playing well.
Oh, they're doing a great job. Coach Taylor took over for Coach Melton, and, haven't skipped a beat, at all. And the defensive staff, all of them, they all come together, communicate with each other great, and help Coach Taylor out. But the time and effort he puts into it is just awesome to see. He's really taken over that role and ran with it, and just so happy that he did. You lose a Coach Melton, and like you said, what's going to happen. I think everybody kind of knew once Coach Taylor stepped in and said, we're going to be all right. He took over the reins, and the team was we keep the whole defensive staff intact. So everybody was settled the defense up. So, and they played well. Some of the points that they've scored. They got a pick 6 against Henry County. And like I said, Brentwood, we didn't play well offensively, and they really kept us in the game for sure that week. This week is a challenge with Centennial. And you got the triple option essentially. So you've got to be very disciplined defensively. You got to dive, quarterback, and pitch, and who's got what every play, and just be very disciplined. So it's been a challenge this week for sure.
Well, gentlemen, I've enjoyed talking to you today. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're getting ready for the game tonight. We're certainly looking forward to it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for the Coaches Show. We'll see you next time.